If you're a tradie or contracting business owner who's sick of fixing mistakes over and over, today I'm going to show you how to reduce rework and stop profit bleeding. Now this is a recording from a private training that I ran for our coaching members, and I'm making it available here on YouTube for free.
Let's get stuck in. So, hey, there's multiple ways that you can improve GP in your business, gross profit in your business, right? When you think about those things, like how to improve gross profit, what comes to mind? Just pop it in the chat box for me so I know we're thinking on the same wavelength. What is that? If you're going to improve your gross profit, what are you focusing on? What are you changing? What are you adapting? Where's your energy going? What is that? Pop it in the chat so I know. Yeah, labor productivity, so how useful the guys are when they're on site, how utilized they are. So like how much of their time is billable, yeah, how efficient they are, accountability, yeah, sweet, pricing, production rate. Yeah, a lot of these sorts of things kind of come back to the three main things, right? How well we price, how efficient the team are when they go to site and complete jobs, and then how well you utilize your labor, right? Those are the three main things that we have. Now we can call it a bunch of different stuff, right? Charging what we're worth, making sure that they're effective, best use of materials. Like they all kind of come back to those three things when you really whittle them down. So we're all on the same page about that. Now, the thing that will wildly destroy your gross profit and your profit altogether is rework, right? And if you've never thought about it like this, I want to make sure you understand it like this. You lose multiple times. So if you're called back to a job and you have to do it again, right, the job blows out because there's more trips to site, there's more labor time spent on the job. You might be buying the materials again to pull them out and put better, fresher, new ones in, whatever happened, right, associated to that job, and it sinks the profit into the floor. And then you lose because of opportunity cost, right? That's the work that you could have been doing when you're sending your guys back to work for free, all right? That's two losses. And then there's other down the line implications as well, right? And that's like really why we're doing this. There's admin that's needed, right? So rescheduling, dealing with the complaint can actually erode some of the trust you had with your client. Honestly, it's a pretty shitty feeling for you having to send your guys back, have clients complaining, telling other people about it, right? You or one of your managers have to have the difficult conversations with the team members. And I want to put this out there right away. There's no magic trick for this. There's a bunch of important concepts that you need to understand, though, that will actually help GP overall. But really specifically, what we're going to talk to today is rework altogether to nail this. So what I'd love to know first is how many jobs, and like really be honest, like how many jobs are you having to go back to per month? Just on average, even if you think about recently. Right? Like it might be a small thing where you just go and have to just like really quickly spend a bit of labor on it. It might be going and redoing the whole job again. I know there's a lot of vastness to what this looks like. So a lot of people are sitting on 1 to 2, 10%, 12 per month, 2%, 6 jobs a month. One job lately is a giant pain in my ass, around 3 per month, 5. 1 per week, so it's 4 a month. And obviously, what we're talking about here are different sized jobs and different times, like sort of scales as to how much this could be worth. But it's really important that you understand the impact of it, right? So it's good that you know. 0 lately is awesome. Kent, nice job. 10 a month. Josh and Christy, let's figure out how much this could be costing you. So if we go into some of the problems, obviously first problem is that your margins are getting destroyed, right? And when we go and think about how we allocate this and whether you do or don't do it like this, I definitely encourage you to do it. If you have rework, like you're called back to the same job, you should bill the costs against the original job. That's actually really important for your back costing and for your tracking, so that you can allocate the blowouts and you can allocate the trends to different types of clients that you might be struggling with and you need to actually get better at doing that type of work, or certain tradesmen. So if you have a certain tradesman that's blowing out jobs, you need to be able to identify that and measure that so that you can do the right stuff to make sure that they're better, more committed, held accountable, so you can get better results in the future. right? And you can go and make changes. So measuring this is a big part of it. So you should be allocating the rework and the free time to the back costed jobs, right? So when you go back to redo a job, you're thinking about fuel spent going back to site. You're thinking about travel time for your billable people. You're thinking about time on site that isn't billable somewhere else. And doing a mistake can often take more time than even just the redo in general. So just pull my iPad up real quick. If we focus on one job, and I'll just give you an example. Let's say it's a $3,500 job. That'd be the income or the revenue for that job. And you price that job for 35%. All right. So what that would mean is that when you went and priced the job, you're aiming for a gross profit in dollars of 1,225. So if the guys went to site and they went and did the job and they did it for 35% because everything was on budget, that amount there, that 1,225 is the amount that you would have earned in gross profit. Now, I'm not going to do any maths here, but I just want to play out how this would work. So let's just say that you have to replace a couple of parts and it costs the labor to travel and it costs the labor for the guys to go and undo the mistake and then get it right. Let's just say that's enough time to erode all of that and make it a break-even job, right? So it costs you $1,225 to go back, buy the parts, pay for the labor. And that's just an assumption that we'll make, right? So now it's a $0 GP job. There's no profit on the job when you back cost it. You've essentially spent the same amount of time you would have done on another job, which leads us to the second problem, which is that thing that I talked about before called opportunity cost. If it took this same amount of time, we could have earned another $1,225 of gross profit, which means that the cost for that reworked job is $2,450. That is a cost. Okay. Now, I don't know what the average of everybody's responses before were, but there's some people that were doing 10. There were some people that were doing 4 to 5. Some people doing 0 to 1. How this adds up gets a little bit scary. So if we were to say use this example of that cost, and that happens 3 times a month, can someone bang that into a calculator for me and just let me know what that is per month as a cost? $7,350. Okay. And if we did that over a year, 12 months in a year, essentially $90,000 of profit that we just throw in the trash, right? We set it on fire as per Eamon's email yesterday, right? So we lose a bunch of times, and that's really the big thing that we have to make sure that we understand the impact of. The next problem is admin wobbles, right? It's rescheduling, it's time dealing with complaints, it's multiple invoices or amended invoices. And the kicker is the extra admin muck around time, which can be quite hard to quantify into dollars, but it is there, right? It is there. And it's just important to understand that it's there. And hey, ultimately, this leads to some boiling frustration. Anyone just felt extremely fucked off about rework in the past? Just show of hands if you have, honestly. Or we got a lot of double hands up. So we're feeling this. Look, it's frustrating to schedule because it becomes a priority and then you have to move other jobs around. It's frustrating for the admin team or you if you're doing it. Your guys get rescheduled, or for some of your guys, it's like, oh, I have to go fix up that guy's work again. And that's frustrating, right? Customers tell you about these muck-ups. They have to, so you go back. So it's frustrating for your customers. And you have to deal with all of this. And you have to lose money multiple times, which is super frustrating for you. And I can feel that. But hey, look, if you get this right, bunch of opportunities. First thing, you get killer job profits, right? All the work that you do to reduce rework means you're on budget with everything else, right? We talk about pricing, efficiency, and utilization of your labor being the 3 things that you work on to get good GP. Doing all of this hard work gets your guys really efficient and utilized really well, right? Obviously, there's a bunch of other stuff, but it does make your profits go to target, which is massive. And because they're well utilized, that transfers directly to your profit and loss, right? It goes to your P&L as P&L profit because less time is lost from travel being planned and billed into jobs as you don't have to rebook them anymore or go back. And it's a great experience because everything gets done on time, but also you can focus your time and energy not on training and holding people accountable and getting frustrated into the positive stuff, like the critical non-essentials that like really make your client experience exceed their expectations, like following up and checking on their job rather than taking the complaint call, right? And ultimately, if you have less rework, it means less stress, it means a clearer head, and it means you can focus on the stuff that you want to focus on. And let's be honest, like headspace is what you need to be more present with people and improve things in your business, right? To be creative, to be able to like really make a difference. And Luke's put this one in the chat. If you're doing rework, you fuck up your reputation and you lose work as a result. You wouldn't even talk about the detractors, right? When your customers are when they're mucked around and not happy, hey, they go and tell people, right? They always do. So 5 key principles to nail this. Firstly, you need to design the play. So high-level sports teams are a really great example of setting their people up to know what's happening at each point in the game to nail every play. Now, I'll honestly say this, I'm not really a basketball guy, but in New Orleans last week, I went and watched a Pelicans-Lakers game while we were there. And LeBron's like, he's the guy, he's the GOAT. So you want to go see that guy. And man, he is unreal. If you like basketball or you don't, you have to have a real special appreciation for this guy's no-look passes. Like he's looking over here and he'll do some underhanded throw and like it is so quick you wouldn't believe it and it is perfect to the window. Like the players are always ready. They always get it. And he's amazing at being able to set up the other players so that the opposition just has no idea what's going on and he creates an opening. And the marking defender just is not ready, right? So it creates a hole for the receiver to take the three-pointer, to get the dunk, whatever the players that they've set up. And although he's amazing, this sort of stuff is not set up by accident. It's not a fluke. The plays are designed, the calls are clear between the players and created from the coaching team, right? These plays are set up so they can be executed on game day and get the points and get the win. And if you think about that, these are effectively systems, right? That are created to get the victory, just in the form of whiteboard sessions, reviews, practice, and them pushing it and talking about it in their timeouts. So I think it's important just to go, if we think about designing our play with our business and our teams, what are some processes that you can put in place so that you can design your plays so that mistakes are less likely to happen? I'd love to know, what are your thoughts in the chat? What are some of the plays that you can set up? All right, you got like quality assurance checklists. You've got pre-job checklists. Obviously, checklists in general are really good. Yeah, work checklists, so maybe on-site processes. That could be videos, that could be forms inside your job management software. Morning, afternoon procedures, pre-job meditation. Yeah, if that works, seriously, and that's a process that you have to get everyone's head in the game, amazing. Pre-start checklist, QA before leaving site, have more stock in the van with a stock list, right? We know a bunch of these things, and it's things like having clear written expectations of what they're actually expected to do in each role. Maybe having a pre-start meeting to make sure that every single person knows exactly what they do. So Jeff, when you show up, you know what you're doing today. Daniel, when you show up, you know what you're doing today. Dale, you know what you're doing today. Andre, tell me what you're doing today. Verified. Okay, amazing. Right? If they don't know what to do or they get lost, where do they go? What do they look at? Is there a process somewhere? Is there a video somewhere that is going to give them the clear expectations of what it should look like and what they need to do at each step along the way? Some other things that you can do to make sure that you're ahead here is managing client expectations, right? What are the client's needs versus your needs? And what are the client's expectations versus your expectations, and lining those up? Because remember, a complaint is only generated from unmet expectations. So the more work that we can do up front means that we've got the best cure, right? Prevention is the best cure here. So you might have written some of these down. All good, don't worry about it too much. We're going to do this a little bit later, but it's really important that you design your place. Number 2 is don't band-aid. I have a fun story from my parents actually. Recently, they did a new build and some band-aiding happened, which honestly caused like the biggest rework fuck up I've heard about in a little while, personally at least. So they got a kind of like their dream house really built in this little town called Waihi Beach out on the east coast of New Zealand. Cool little quiet place. They wanted to retire there, so that was their dream to do that. And they bought a section about 10 years ago, once me and my sister moved out of home and they got freed up. And yeah, they bought this little section. They wanted to bowl the house and they finally did it. And they'd done everything. They picked the best builders who had all these killer subbies. They had amazing promises, all these good reviews, all this sort of shit, right? So they were like, yes, I'm going to get this done right. And my mum's she's quite an anal lady. So as I go through all this stuff, you might be like, oh, I know some of these customers. My mum's a lovely lady. I won't hear a bad word spoken about her. But honestly, these builders, they band-aided every fuck up along the way. They tried to paint over big dents where other trades had gone in, fucked up the jib. They put the wrong roof on altogether. They scratched up all these windows. The shower drain doesn't drain. The fascia's getting scratched from the ladders not using soft cloths, like window frames, fucked wallpaper's not being hung properly. And the wallpaper guy has had to come back 5 times. Don't ask me why my mother wanted wallpaper in some of the house. But ceiling fans were put up where cupboard doors couldn't open. Like, it was actually ridiculous. So who has seen something like this where you've gone in another trade has made a shit show of it? Like, show of hands. Most of us have seen this. Yeah. But like, honestly, all in all, this rework probably cost about 200 grand at least. That's just the cost. Like, it was absolutely crazy. And that doesn't even include the opportunity cost, right? The admin cost to do all that sort of stuff. Now, if I think about my mum, she might be quite pedantic. But if you look at the slide, the image that I use, this is just a part of the house. All these little like purple things, she went over the entire house and was like, this is every single fuck up that happened. And she just labeled it everywhere. And she just sent photos and she made sure that it all got fixed, and it got fixed, and it's cool. But like, outrageous costs, right? From poor workmanship, people not checking, having no care, management not showing up. These guys just weren't up to scratch with their skills or had no process to get it done to the standard that was expected, right? Client needs expected from the start. And I think it's really important that a Band-Aid over a bullet hole doesn't mean that the bullet hole won't show when the Band-Aid comes off. You're actually better to own the mistake, work hard once, amend the issue, and it'll probably give you a better outcome in the end. And I know that might be hard to wrap around, but it really can be tempting to just go, I'll just cover it up and see if we can get away with it. And it won't fuck us up that much on the job. And if we put real big pressure on our tradespeople to achieve budget, and that they just do anything they can to achieve budget, hours on site, whatever your measure is for your team, and it has an effect like that, potentially you need to relook at it, because it might not be opening up the training holes, the accountability holes that you have, and that would make the real difference to this. Okay. Number 3 is horses for courses. Anybody here been to the races before? Sure, a bunch of you guys have been to the races before. Any one of you would expect that horse on the left show up to the races? Stallion on the left there at the races. They're built for different things, right? So I want to introduce this concept to you guys called situational leadership. You might have heard about it before, but situational leadership is all about using horses for courses, right? Not all direct reports require the same approach in terms of how you manage them, where you send them. So a great example which stands out easily is how you wouldn't send a first-year apprentice or coach the first-year apprentice or delegated jobs to the first-year apprentice the same as an experienced journeyman. You wouldn't do it, right? Or if you hire an electrician that's been bashing out new housing for 15 years and you do a lot of breakdown work, you might need to navigate that task a little bit differently in terms of how you approach it, how you send them to site, the direction, all the rest. Now, I've got this little matrix. It's in your workbook. I just want to quickly run you through it. So on the left-hand side, what we're looking at is commitment level. So how committed to the task, whatever the task may be, how committed is the person that you want to delegate the task to committed to achieving that to the standard you expect? All right? How committed? You have to take a gut feeling on this. You probably know the person. Don't need to worry about who the person is just yet, but that's that. And then on the x-axis down the bottom, how skilled up in that task are they? And you can use this for coaching and delegation to any person that works for you, operations manager, admin person, tradesman, doesn't matter. It changes the way that you coach and delegate the task, which is the important part. So what we need to do is we need to take those two factors and we need to rate them 0, 1, or 2. Real simple. And whenever you do this, if you're like, oh, it's between 1 and 2, I just call it a 1. Just go down. If it's a 2, it's a 2, you'll know. And effectively, it'll give you a score on this grid. So if I was to delegate something to one of you guys here, and I was to say like, Jake, commitment level to doing this task, it might be if I wanted to delegate, going and creating a process, right? So if I wanted you to create an on-site process for me, I have to think about like, how much does Jake care about the outcome of this? Making sure that everybody does this task in exactly the same way, right? I've got to measure that 0, 1, or 2, right? And I might say that's a 2 because Jake's a boss and he has commitment to everything. And then I got to rate his skill. How skilled is Jake at doing the process? So I know he'll create a really good process for good consistency in the business. I might rate that a 0. No, I'm just kidding, man. Obviously, I'd give that a 2 for you, Jake, right? But all of these things change how we would determine how we'd coach them. So if you gave somebody a 0, right? Or sorry, a 0 here, 0 and 0. So 0 commitment, 0 skill. You need to give that task to somebody else, right? If it's a 1, so either they had a 1 for skill and a 0 for commitment or vice versa, you need to train them hard out. Like you actually need to micromanage this person. And what micromanagement looks like is, hey, Jake, the first thing that you need to do is this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And when you do this part, you need to do it like this. I expect it to be exactly like this. Okay? So that's this holding their hand and making sure they know each step of your expectation along the way. If they got a 2, you coach them, you make a plan for them, and then you follow up. So here's the plan, here's the timeline, here's the expectations, and then you might have some milestones along the way of where you check in. Hey, where are you up to? What do you need to shift? Where are you up to? What do you need to shift? If it's a 3, don't explain the task. Just give them the outcome that you want and have them explain it so that they can make a plan. And then you just stand there as the cheerleader and go, Jake, awesome, you're crushing it, nice. And if they need a bit of a steer, you give them a steer, but you want to cheer them on. All right, and then if they're up here as D4, so they're highly skilled and highly committed, delegate it completely. Just tell them what you want and just let them do it, right? Your check-ins and your like constant accountability checks like actually do feel condescending when somebody is highly skilled and highly committed. They want it like you want it. So that's situational leadership. And you have to think about this in everything that you do so that you delegate right. Yeah, because if you micromanage somebody who doesn't need to, it's terrible. They won't want to do it. They'll also disrespect you. And if you leave somebody who really needs the micromanagement to make a plan, you're just setting yourself up for failure. They'll also feel like shit. So there's no point doing that. It's bad for you and them, right? So sending a first-year apprentice to go and do a job that probably needs about 3 to 5 years experience on site is the same thing. Like we know that in our gut, but when we think about tasks and breaking them down, sometimes we can lose it. So horses for courses, right? Think about how you delegate some of the stuff and send people to the right jobs. Have the right people lead the jobs. Have the right people do the checks. Have the right people create the process. Yeah. D2, you wanna coach them and make the plan for that person. So you're effectively deciding the steps and the timelines, and then they'll go and do it. Fourth key principle is measure and plan. So real simple. A repeated mistake is your mistake. A repeated mistake is your mistake, right? So write that down if you need to. If you think about it, a particular tradesman going to site and has poor workmanship, what's the miss? It's really easy to blame them, but it helps a lot if you look in the mirror and go, what do we need to measure? Did we measure it? Have we actually found a trend? And did we make a plan to get them through the other side? So how can you document it? Do you document it through your back costing? Yeah, that's a good, easy way to do that, right? When these things happen and you measure and find it, what training needs to be done? So what's the skill level on that matrix, right? Or what's the accountability look like right now? So if you think about that commitment level, that could come back to accountability or their goals, their future, whatever it is. Where are they along it and what's the plan to improve it, right? Or what process or system needs to be tweaked or created. Yeah, I can go through the situational leadership stuff again in a second. And number 5 is you want to pull the weeds. So this is all around accountability. And it's really important. Enforcing standards and providing accountability is a bit like weeding, right? You want to do it super regularly. If you think about your garden, right? If you let the weeds accumulate for a while, they get out of control. You really hate that huge job that you have on your hands, and it's really easy to just put away. But it could be a full day or more of hard work ripping out the deep, thick roots. Yeah, if you catch them and pull them early, they're easy to pull out and it's a quicker job. It's the same thing with your team. If you're letting them get away with it and then you go and have to have a blow up or a massive like little, redirection of their life, it's a bit harder. It's harder for them to take. It's harder for you to do. If you just pull this stuff up regularly, keeps the accountability high, and it's way easier to maintain. All right. You might have seen this flowchart before. We've gone through it a few times in the past, but I think it's really important that you recognize that accountability is a huge part of this. This is a cycle. So I'm just going to quickly go through each part of it. I'm not going to go into massive depth on each one. This will feel a little bit like a to-do list. Like I said at the start, there's no magic tricks with this, but accountability is a huge part. So the first thing here that's so important is we need to make sure that we have clarity of success. So your team need to know exactly how to crush it, exactly how to do a good job. There's a bunch of things that you can do here, right? Firstly, we've got things like clear job descriptions, values being in check, rules of the game, right? Having clear key performance indicators and examples. So that's like targets. If I get this target, right, I know that I'm crushing it. I feel really good about that. You need KPIs. So that's what are the activities? What is the stuff in my control that I can really own? And then like things like project expectations. So, expectations. So like what is the outcome that we're searching for here? And that can be done through different meeting rhythms. So that might be your pre-starts. It might be your end of day check-ins, whatever those look like. These set your team up so that they know how to be successful. They know how to crush it. That moves us over to clarity of process. So we went through a bunch of these before. That's things like pre-job checklists, QA checklists, on-job checklists, video trainings. It's things like being trained on how to do the job, not just what. All right. All of these sorts of things create clarity of how to show up and do the thing to get the outcome. All right. Number 3 is we need to review performance. So somebody actually has to check in, right? That's things like you going back and looking at the back costing and trending it. That's the measure part, right? So we have to decide on like what's the cadence in which we check and give feedback. What are the trends that we're looking for? That the KPIs that we set in place for the team are being regularly assessed. So actually looking at the results so that we know where staff are. Like, are they underperforming? Are they overperforming? Are they crushing it? Are they severely struggling? Right? If we don't know the stuff, we're going to have a real hard time. And then the last one is we need to give, once we review the performance, feedback and coaching. So if you're not familiar, the 20, which is the first thing, is a 20-minute one-on-one coaching session that we do with our team regularly. So doing things like this. It's performance appraisals. It's actually doing the hard conversations, right? Giving the feedback through way of, if you make a mistake, let's figure out the impact of that and realign expectations and talk about how it relates back to the values. If it doesn't fix, it's like, what's our disciplinary process? What are the training plans? What are the courses that we can send our guys on to get better? So there's a bunch of stuff that we can do that really elevates the accountability and the training so that people can get better, right? Improve the skill, improve the commitment along the way. All right. If you need that after, if you want to write more notes, I can send it to you. Okay. Team, bunch of stuff so far. I'd love to know what's been most valuable so far. Like, what have been the biggest insights? What have been the biggest aha moments? What do you feel like, damn, I need to go and change or do from the chat so far? I'd love to know. Open up the chat box, let me know. Love the flow chart. Yeah, it really helps. Got some shit to do, don't we all, mate? Don't we all? So do I, by the way. We don't all nail this. Situational coaching, yeah, totally. That's a massive one. If you can get that right and start getting a bit of a habit of just analyzing it in your brain, it really does help with the right people in the right place. That matrix, more training and coaching, you pay twice. Yeah, knowing the impact of that, checklists and flowchart, sweet. Implementing all the checklists. Wouldn't we love to have all of the checklists done? Nice. Situational leadership with steps, perfect. Accountability, yeah, good. Coaching is well worth it. Sweet. Situational leadership to delegate correct tasks for the correct skill level, perfect. 90K, Keith Hoffer. Yeah, man, you might need to do your own calculations or just fix the problem and work on it. That's what we've got to constantly do. Callbacks could be your revenue for another employee. Good insight, man. Like that. Repeated mistakes are your mistakes. Make sure processes change and people are aware of changes so fuck-ups don't keep happening. Absolutely. Perfect. Start with a flow chart. Cool. All right, bunch of insights. Feels like you're picking up what I'm putting down, so that's good. All right, so first step, in my opinion, is to do the groundwork, and that's in process. All right, everything is to set the team up for success, and we just went through a bunch of things, and we looked at really high level look at that accountability flow chart. Like, it is high level, because you might look at one of those things like a pre-job checklist and go, yeah, but Cam, I've got a bunch of pre-job checklists that I need to make. Yeah, 100%. But honestly, when I think about this, I always think about choosing your hard, right? You can do the hard work of setting the team up for success with the pre-work, or you can do the hard of sending them back, losing profit, and having to redo the jobs. So if you're thinking, fuck, Cam, this sounds like a lot, this sounds really hard, I'd say choose your hard. Okay? You always have to do that. What's the bigger pain here? Great way to look at this. So all of this stuff is going to help the team do a better job on site. So I'll just pull this back up here real quick. I know my writing's a little bit terrible, but if you were to pick one of these things that you think would move the needle the furthest to help create better groundwork for your team on site, what would it be? Let me know. Pop it in the chat. If you were to pick one, I don't mean one of these, I mean one of these. Because clarity of process is fucking gigantic. Like, let's be real. It's huge. You're going to go and make all of your pre-job checklists, QA checklists, all of your on-job processes start to end and create video trainings for everything tomorrow? Probably not. I'll just realign your expectations really quick, because I know I can't do that. So for you, what's the one? And write it down in your book. Cool. Checklist for success, on-job checks. Nice. Yeah, Corey, pre-work or rework, 100%. Oh, this is a good little tagline. Thank you. Pre-work or rework? What is it for you? Everyone needs to commit. Get some KPIs in place, Bryn. Core values, sweet. I know I'm stacking you up with stuff here, but it really is pre-work or rework. These things will help reduce it. And if you're somebody that put at the start of the session, I'm doing 10 jobs again per month, that example that I ran through is probably nothing compared to what it's costing you in profit. Perfect. Project expectations, pre-job walkthrough and expectations. Killer. Nice. That's all I want to do here. Next thing I want to do is if we go down to page 13, I want everybody to think of a staff member. Think of one person, preferably a tradesman. Could be an apprentice, I don't mind, someone that works on site. And write their name in here. Right? Write their name in there. I picked Eamon. He's my most annoying person that works for me, so that's an easy one. Love you, buddy. Pick yours. I don't mind if they're bad. Doesn't matter who it is. All right? And then think of a task that they do. And write it in the chat box so I know you've got something. What's the task that you would delegate to that tradesman? And it can just be a type of job that they do. Sam and Anna, running jobs. I like that. That's really cool. So they're going to be doing what in your head, right? They're going to be setting the expectations with the team at the start of the job. They're going to be the person communicating with you, with the builder, with the admin team. They're going to be giving the feedback to the team. They're going to be doing the QA. They're going to be making sure that all of the admin's done at the end of the job. So when you think about the task, we have to think about it wholly, right? So that's really important because when you analyze their skills to run a job, to do the CAD designs, to create a process, to run the factory altogether, to plan the team's work for the day, so scheduling, whatever, to create quotes, whatever it is, right? And think about it as one job. So Cam, irrigation technician, that might be the person. What's the task that you would delegate? Not his whole job, right? What would be the task that you would delegate? And write that down. And it's important that you get clear on what that is. Okay. So there might be people in your team that are really good at the fit off, but that's all they're really good at. And maybe they suck at the pre-wire, right? They just can't do that. I don't know why, but they just really are just bad at it. They make mistakes all the time. Somebody else has to go in and say, Jesus Christ, Kent, get it together, man. Get it together, man. If that's happening, they're not good at the whole part. So if you can break it down, that does help. So getting clear on what the task is really important, and think about it. So the first thing, which I think is easiest to get clear on, is the skill level. So 0, 1, or 2 for that person. So Paula, hot water cylinder install, 0, 1, or 2 for that person that you've got in mind. Rate them. Rate them. And it's out of 3, right? And so you have to just know from your gut, what is that? And like I said before, really important that if it's between a 0 and a 1, or if it's between a 1 and a 2, just put it to the lower one. If it's a 1 or a 2 and you don't know, it's a 1. Okay? Now, commitment level. When you rate the commitment level, you have to think about how much they care about the outcome. Like, how much do they really want to achieve the outcome that you want? So if you're sending someone, or if someone is going to be training on standards, Daniel, in your business, how much do they care about all of your team getting to the stage where the standards are always met 100% of the time in your business? If I think about Eamon in our business, and I was to rate him on running a Q&A room, right? I would say that his commitment level is at 2, or if I could rate it higher than 2, I would do that, right? He absolutely gives a fuck about how good that room is and how well everyone gets the impact of what they want from that room. Like, if I was going to do that, I would rate him a 2. Yeah. So think about that for your person doing that task and like scrutinize that. You have to, especially when you're starting to get used to this concept of assessing people's skills and assessing their commitment. Like you have to scrutinize it. Can feel a little bit mean, stop it. Doesn't matter. You have to be the person deciding on the stuff. Otherwise, you just send people in to do a bad job, right? You don't want to do that. So now you have a score. Chuck your score in the chat. All right. Chuck your score for that person in the chat. Remember, D0. Give to someone else. Like, don't delegate it to them. You're setting yourself up for failure. You might as well get their commitment level up first or start to train the skill so that you can move them on, right? D1, this is you need to train them hard out and micromanage. Like seriously do micromanage. And when I say micromanage again, micromanage means do this, then this, then this, and at each step of the way, this is how you do it. And I want this done at this time of the day, and it should take you half an hour. And when you finish that half an hour, you tell me, and I'll give you the next task. Like it feels like that, and it feels like a lot. But if you have a D1, you need to do that. Otherwise, you set yourself up for failure. D2, you need to coach them. So that means that you make the plan and you do the follow-up. Right? So if we make a plan and I say, hey, Kerry, I want you to do this and I want you to do it by 12:30. And you go, yeah, sweet, Cam, I got it. And you know how to do it, and that's cool. And then I go and check in 12:30. How'd you get on, man? All right, sweet. Here's the next part. Or are you cool with the next part because we've made the plan, right? D3, don't explain it. Just explain the outcome and let them, they make the plan. And you critique. And then you stand there and you cheerlead. Yeah, yes, Kerry, got this. D4, let them crush it. So delegate completely. So that's outcome and don't check in. They want the outcome as much as you. So for Eamon running the Q&A room, he'll come and tell me how it went. All right, I don't need to check in. I don't need to say, hey man, how'd it go? Like I do say it, but I say it out of interest, not out of, is he doing a good job? Okay, and you can do that as long as it's genuine. And I would just say that if you have someone that's a D0, I didn't see anyone that was a D0. You probably thought about people that can actually do some of the stuff that you want to delegate. But if you have a D0 and you probably do have people in your team that are D0 for some tasks, it's okay. But if it's a bunch of tasks, you might need to ask a different question, right? Are they a values fit? Because they're not committed to any of the tasks that are in their job description, right? Like that's a bit silly. Okay. The last thing that's really important is, so if we think about where we've gone so far, we've laid some groundwork, right? So we've set the team up for success. Yeah. We have assessed where they're at. So before we go and just push someone into the big bad world of doing stuff that you expect them to do, we've gone, how's their commitment? How are they in terms of skills to be able to deliver on the result that you expect? The next thing that we need to do is we need to train the gap, right? And an extremely underrated step here is making time to train. And you might think, oh yeah, I train people Cam every now and then. I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that. Or I hire people that come in and they should be able to do this, that, and the other because they said they could in the interview, or they had this experience and so they should be able to go and do that. Like honestly, you still need to train people. And you need to train them past the point of when they just qualify. And I think it's really important to understand that when you hire somebody that's worked in another business, they haven't had the same standard expectations communicated or communicated well or communicated written that you might expect. And so it's important that you make the time to train. And the thing that's really important with this is you need to make sure that it's in your calendar and it's in their calendar in whatever way, shape, or form that works for you. Right? So if in your calendar, you do that all in Outlook and they run everything by Simpro or whatever job management software you use, so you need to make sure you set that up. But often, and the reason why I'm bashing this home so hard is often the time to train is underestimated. Like, to really get your team to a level where they're crushing it efficiency-wise, crushing it so that they don't have to go and do rework, the skills need practice. Yeah. Like, it needs practice. If you want a good result, they need to practice. And it seriously, it doesn't finish when your people qualify. And you need to block more time in than just explaining it, right? Like, you need lots of time for practice. One of the things that you might have heard Phil say this before, he harps on about it a lot. He talks about skill development, and he uses the tennis analogy. And I think this one, if you're going to remember any sort of analogy around getting better at a skill, I think that if we just remain consistent here, it might just help you remember it. So if you think about tennis, and Jeff's the only man I know that's pretty damn good at tennis. Not many other people I know are good at tennis, so this one's easy. Yeah, if you think about all the different types of learning styles, right? Kinesthetic learning style and auditory learning style and visual learning style, all this sort of stuff, it's like, okay, cool, you've got a learning style. But if you watch somebody like Serena Williams play tennis for hours and hours and hours and hours, and then you get on the court and you grab your tennis racket for the first time, are you going to be as good as Serena Williams? Fuck no, absolutely not. You'll be terrible. You won't even be as good as Jeff, right? If you are a auditory learner and you listen to Serena Williams audiobook, she comes and personally tells you, get better like this, do this, come on, Doug, you can do this, blah, 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 blah. And then you get on the court for the first time and you play Jeff, he will clean you up, right? You're not going to be as good at Serena Williams. You will not. You won't even be fucking close because you've never had a racket in your life. You need to practice. All of your team cannot get better at their skills by you just explaining it or by you just showing them how to do the thing. There's a core process that has been trained and tested, which looks like this. And it might feel a little bit overwhelming, but this is the most effective test-through method to train people. First thing you need to do, you need to pre-test them. So where's your skill level currently at? So if you think about one of your people and you think about a skill that they want to learn, you need to test where they're currently at. The next thing that you need to do is you need to teach them, right? So that means doing the thing and having them watch you. So if you're teaching somebody how to do your scheduling in your business, and that's end to end from taking the phone call, putting it into the system, checking the gaps, making sure you prioritize in this, that, and the other order, locking it in so it's in the other person's calendar, blah, blah, blah. Like, you need to do it so they see you do it. And so they've got now the visualization of the expectation and what you want as the outcome. The next thing that you need to do is you need to get them to do it and you watch them, right? So now you watch them do it. So they've done the pre-test, you've taught them, and now they've watched you do it. Now you need to practice it. That's reps, yeah? So while you're there doing it, awesome, that's practice, that's repetitions. Number 5 is you need to do a post-test. So now that we've gone through the training rhythm, I'm going to sit back and watch and you just do it. Yeah, and now you know where they're at again.
Right.
And then the last thing,
You're good.
and actually quite an important step, is
I'm on it.
you need to have them reflect on the task, reflect on their growth, reflect on where they're at, reflect on their gaps, what they're worried about, what they're struggling with. And it feels like a lot, but you need to also repeat this process 2 to 3 times to really make sure that they've got it. And you can do this with gaps, but only then should you really be able to do this part, which is the certification. All right, you've got the skill. I'm happy that you can go and own this. Eamon, you can go and run that Q&A room. I don't give a fuck anymore. I know you've got it. You're a boss. I'm happy as. Everyone knows you're going to do a weaponry job with this, right? So you've probably got some people in your team where it's a no-brainer. You'll go and send them to that thing and you'll never check because you know that they've got the skill to do it, right? But probably without even thinking about it, you've actually gone and you've shown them how to do it. You've watched them do it and you've been really stoked with it. You've critiqued them. You've given them feedback, all that sort of stuff until the point where you've essentially subconsciously certified them being the D4, right? The person who crushes that thing. Yeah. So that is an easy but timely training process that I would say if you can get this into your business, it'll have amazing results, right? Pre-test them, teach them, watch them do it, do the repetitions, do the post-test, have them sit and think about like where they struggle with it, what their worries are, the learnings that they've had along the way through the training process, okay? And then make a plan. So however you want to do this in whatever format, I don't really mind, but one thing that's important is creating clarity on the objective that you're after. So what's the thing that you're trying to train? And if you can break it down into steps, it means it's there's more wins along the way and it's easier to digest, right? So if you can break any of the training process that you can down into steps and put timelines on it, it'll make it so they can go and chase it and they can get more wins, more feeling of growth, more high fives along the way. They can feel way better about the training and the development that they're doing. It'll mean more to them. Cool? So if you make a plan with them, you have to make the time to do the training part. So when are you going to teach them? How long will that take? When are you going to watch them doing the process? When will they go and practice the task that's in their calendar? When will you do the post-test? Yeah, you can do this as a team. You can do this in groups. It doesn't matter. Just got to think about how this works in your calendar, their calendars. All right. Last thing for me on this is we've got to have future action. So we've talked about a bunch of stuff. High level, we talked about laying in the groundwork and deciding on your plays, assessing the skills and using situational leadership, training the gap, and there was process that we picked before. What I want to know is what's the biggest rock out of all of this that will help you move the needle the furthest to reduce rework for you and your business right now? What is that? Put it in the chat. Bunch of people here should have a bunch of responses in the chat box for me. So high level, we looked at laying in the groundwork and deciding on your plays, assessing people are at and using situational leadership, training the gap, and obviously process, and we picked something for that. I just want to know the one thing that will move the dial the furthest for you. And then if you want, chuck your biggest insight in and we'll wrap the session. So making time to train, perfect. The situational leadership chart, a few people there, training the reps, nice. Getting the QA checklist in place, perfect. Putting aside time for training. Yeah, it's hard to do, but it makes it as a massive payoff. Seriously, so good. Certify them for the task, Dave, nice. Putting time into train, very important. Sweet, few people picking that up. Create process, QA checklist on every job. Like that, Rob. Good stuff, man. Train the gap, hit home, more training. Lots of people having some realizations around time for training. Feels like set very clear expectations. Nice, Duncan. Hopefully they're written. Yeah. Good. Pre-work, design the play. Nice. Situational leaders, assessing the leaders. Cool. Steps to training, repeat the process 2 to 3 times. Perfect, guys. Lots of pickups. Do the chart, create a training plan, clear goals and expectations. All right, nice. So you've got your thing. Now you need to go and make time. When is it going to happen in your calendar? I'll leave you with that. Thank you, team. That was an awesome session. I had fun. Hopefully you had fun and got some good stuff out of it. If you need anything else from me, just pop your questions in the Facebook group around it. Happy as to give you any more detail. Thank you, team.
Are you looking to improve your business? Now, the fact that you're still watching tells me you are, in which case, this next part is for you. Now, right now, I'm giving away 4 free business planning sessions. Now, in these sessions, we'll give you a map to improve your cash flow, build systems, and win more profitable work. Now, I only have 2 requirements. Firstly, you must be the owner of an electrical, a plumbing, or a similar tradie or contracting business. Secondly, you'll be making a minimum of $40,000 in revenue per month. Now, if that's you and you're interested, then all you need to do is click the first link in the description. Talk soon.